Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out new episodes of the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. If you missed an episode or want to get more information about the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. SoupX, the Startup Expo, North America's premier startup conference, is March 6th and 7th, 2017, in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Affordably priced, SoupX is a 2-day international conference featuring workshops, panels, speeches, a $50,000 startup competition, and over 100 exhibitors. For more information, go to sup-x.org. Welcome back to the show. Today we have David and Susan Nethero. They're entrepreneurs, investors, speakers, authors, and have been married for 35 years. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Kevin.
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have both of you on the show. I think you guys have done a lot in your career, kind of, both kind of separate in business and together in business. And I think, it makes a lot of sense to kind of get kind of the both sides of that, right? Where you guys done stuff together as a husband and wife. And I think a lot of people will find that really kind of interesting. But maybe before we kind of dive into that, maybe let's get to know each one of you a little bit better and start off with kind of where you guys grew up.
Sure.
Sure, go first, Susan.
So I grew up I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in the Northeast.
Okay.
And I was one of three in my family and had a pretty successful dad in business who was a great mentor to me and always encouraged me a lot. And a mom who was a pretty competitive swimmer. And so she also had a lot of accomplishment. And, I feel like I had a really great, parental relationship that really served me well. And they really gave me a lot of confidence as a young person. That meant a lot to me.
Sure. And yourself, David?
Well, I was born in Cincinnati and raised there, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And I had one brother, a younger brother, and my dad, too, was a great mentor. He was an independent insurance agent, which meant that you get paid only on what you sell. There was no salary. So I really learned what hard work looked like, and long evenings and long days. And I then went off to college in St. Louis to Principia College, a Christian Science school, and I'd been brought up in Christian Science. And then my first job out of school was at Dow Chemical in Midland, Michigan, and it turned out Susan had graduated a year earlier and also went to Dow, and that's where we met.
Okay, so co-workers.
We both enjoyed a professional relationship. We worked in the same department, but we did really different things. David was very involved in computer systems and establishing sales and management systems at the time when computerization was just starting to kind of take off and desktops were a whole new idea. And then I was in marketing and communications. So we really didn't cross paths too much professionally in what we did, but we shared, strong professional interests. And, Dow was actually a great company, a great place to learn. And we were in corporate headquarters, so we had the access of all the things that Dad does around the globe, and that was very interesting. And that kind of got us off to a really great start with our corporate careers. So we did that. The corporate world was a good journey for me. I was 18 years. I did end up working for Xerox and Time Inc. and Marketing Corporation of America along the way, all in marketing and sales management, and then eventually in strategic planning and new business development. And David...
Well, Susan left out the part that after we started our little courtship in Midland, Michigan, which only lasted about 4 or 5 months before I was transferred to Pittsburgh.
Interesting.
And so we went for 2 years having a weekend romance where we get together almost every weekend somewhere. We could drive in between and meet in Ohio. My folks lived in Cincinnati. And then at a magic point, we decided we were ready to get married. And so we both up and resigned our jobs because Susan was in Midland and I was in Pittsburgh. And we ended up we're in her parents' neighborhood, Westport, Connecticut, where Susan got the jobs at Xerox and some of the companies she mentioned. And I ended up getting another job in the same industry, working for Union Carbide, again in the chemical industry. and that's where we started our married life together and had our first our two children there as well.
Interesting. No, that I love kind of just how people kind of meet and kind of their careers. And so I'm curious then, how did you guys decide to kind of start intimacy, and what exactly is the chain?
Well, what happened, it was a really tumultuous moment in our relationship as well, is that Susan had a number of really great jobs over the course of 5 or 6 years. And I was doing very well at Union Carbide and moving up the ladder. And then Union Carbide sold the business unit I was in to Amoco. And Amoco decided they were going to relocate that business unit to Atlanta.
Okay.
And so it was a tough decision. They provided us actually a counselor to talk through this. What should we do?
Really?
Should we move or not move? Because one of us is going to become unemployed. In the end, we decided to make the move. And so that was the catalyst for Susan. She ended up getting a couple jobs here, but that was a catalyst for her to begin to think really in an entrepreneurial vein about starting intimate apparel retail business. So, Susan?
Yeah, so it was always a area of interest and passion. I love marketing, and I was involved in marketing so many different types of products, but I said I might as well market something that I really like. And I had always struggled with fit as it related to bras, and so whenever we would travel to Europe, I would find beautiful, stores that were great, and they would fit people. And I said, we really need to bring that service to America. We really need to help women as their bodies change after, having children or getting a little older, or diet or exercise, or, all the things that happen as women's lives evolve. And I thought it would be great to start intimacy that was really dedicated towards serving women and really helping women feel confident, as well as get the proper fit in all their undergarments. So it was a fun venture. It was challenging.
Sure.
We had a number of years where we invested in the business and we didn't take anything out. We just kept putting more in. And thank God during those years that David was prepared to go the long haul and, work in the corporate world and do the things that he was doing, which we actually were great, mentors to one another, each having different experiences of being able to guide one another. And that was kind of a rare and unique experience. And I think we both valued that.
Yeah, that was the time our children were growing up. I was still with Amoco, and I was traveling all over. Actually, we were doing a lot of work in Asia, and so I brought back experiences for the children. And they saw her mom. Being a mentor, they saw her mom work hard, like I saw my dad, because it was weekends, evenings. It's when you have your own business. It's there's no time off. You're 100%, or you typically go out of business. And so I think that was really really valuable for them to see. From both our perspectives, what it meant to be in the work world. And they're now adults, and we see them, following similar paths to what we did.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. That they, in the early years, of course, they were very embarrassed that their mom was involved in intimate apparel. That was a pretty personal product, so they wanted me to tell their friends that we sold a lot of bathrobes and slippers,
Sure,
but the truth was we fit women in bras, and we provided a really customer service experience, a real teaching experience for the consumer. And that experience, was pretty transformative in terms of how women felt about, their bodies. Women always judge themselves harshly. And what it turned out was that the majority of women were just in the wrong size bra, And when you got them properly fit, all of a sudden their proportions would change dramatically. And of course, their comfort improved immediately, and comfort's pretty darn important in someone's life. So the combination of all of these elements made it quite a customer experience journey for us as we documented kind of the things that we saw from a consumer perspective. And I would come home, so excited to talk about it. And I think David, was always listening, going, oh my gosh, this is really something what you're doing here. So it was a kind of an opportunity of a lifetime when his company wanted him to actually move to Asia to manage some of these businesses more directly hands-on. Our children were at a stage where it was not easy to uproot them from school, and And I said to him, well, maybe you might like to join me in the business. And
you think back on life, Kevin, there's always those pivotal moments where, you can choose A or choose B.
Sure.
This is definitely one of those times where my job was moving to Singapore with or without me. So it was an ultimatum: either I move or I leave. They offered me a year's severance, though, which was a real enabler. And then Susan came up with the idea, and I thought she was joking that I'd join her. And the reason I thought that he was joking is because the business was still very small. We were maybe doing a couple $1 million, $2.5 million a year. And, we had high rents, and there just wasn't that much margin to bring home to live off of. But we thought if we worked together, maybe we could really grow this and make something out of it. So, and I had a year's severance. That was a linchpin. So I resigned when the ultimatum came due and joined Susan, and that was 2001. So Susan had been running the business for 10 years. So I came in after 10 years, and I think what really made a difference, people talk about how do husbands and wives really get along together? Is that a good idea? And I guess my counsel is probably not a good idea for newlyweds.
Sure.
But we've been married 20 years at that point. And so I went in. I didn't displace anyone. We only had like 5 employees. We had buyers and store managers, and maybe had 10 employees, including the salespeople. But I didn't displace anybody. So I came in really on a hunt for how could we build best practices inside the company. And it became evident to me right away that when you're running a retail business, where all the cash is in your inventory. And I was a pretty analytic guy, and actually had worked in IT, early part of my career. So I dove in deep on the inventory and built some really effective replenishment models to help us manage our inventory so that we'd have less inventory. At the same time, Susan was really doing well, increasing sales. So within the first 6 months that we were together, we were selling more with less inventory. And of course, when you sell more and you have less inventory, then you generate a substantially greater amount of cash. And that's what happened. So it was about 6 months later when 9/11 happened, and everybody was frightened, of course.
Sure.
And a few weeks after 9/11, things had settled down a bit, but sales weren't back. And vendors were calling, wanting to know where their money was. And so we actually had, stockpiled some cash. So we called all our vendors and offered to pay early in exchange for early payment discounts of 5%, 10%. And so that was the early stage of our business. But once we established those terms, we kept those forever. And as the years went on, they became, worth millions of dollars to us on an annual basis. But it also was the beginning of a really solid foundation between Susan and I as a couple and our vendors, because they saw the integrity in which we were working with them. And so, and as time went on, I think, again, in terms of a married couple working together, it's important that you each gravitate towards the tasks and the jobs that you like. And it's important that they be different. And for me, I was analytics, so I ended up doing, I didn't do the accounting per se, but I did more like bookkeeping. Over time, we hired an accountant. But I also did all the leasing. ended up opening 18 stores all across the country, so there was a lot of lease deals going on all the time. And Susan did all the marketing, all the PR.
Initial buying mixes.
And she managed the sales team, and over time I began managing sort of the infrastructure from which we create a culture and manage employees in terms of like performance metrics and performance reviews and criteria for hiring. And so there became a natural division, which I think is important when couples come together in business. And I think most couples, when they get married, find that they're not identical, that they actually gravitate towards different things in life. And if they can just apply that to the business that they're jointly running, that for us anyway, that was a real key to our ability to work harmoniously together.
Sure.
No, we had quite a journey.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry.
What I was going to say is we had quite a journey with the business. When David joined me, we set a goal that we were going to start an advertising campaign and really see if we could, double our sales in a 2-year period of time. And we slid in, and we just met that deadline about a week or so before we had the next biggest thing that happened really in our life, which was we got an opportunity to be on the Oprah show. which resulted in us having 5 appearances over a number of years on her show, and kind of became regarded as the experts in the category for her, and really nationally were recognized. Not only did we help our own business grow, but we helped the industry grow a lot. The year immediately following Oprah, the industry grew by $700 million. Wow. So that was quite a tribute to the power of Oprah.
Sure.
And certainly we were able to benefit from that. We did maintain a great relationship with her, which served us well and got us on other networks. So the Today Show and Dr. Oz and the Doctors and Inside Edition and a lot of print and radio shows. And we made PR an important part of our success mix and how we would go open a store. We would really land on the ground and just for 3 weeks we just do one appearance after the next, trying to inform and teach women about how they could feel more confident in their bodies and feel more confident in their bras. And it was a very personal story, but it was a fun story, and helped us to take a store that might have opened at $1 million, and all of a sudden we could open at $2.5 million or maybe even $3 million. So all of that really helped us as we were trying to grow the footprint across the country.
Sure. No, I love the story. I'm curious. I want to dive a little bit deeper into a couple things. The first thing, how did you guys get discovered by Oprah, and how did she kind of reach out to you guys or find you guys?
Well, it's a great story, actually. After I had been with Susan, I guess 3 years, it was 2004, we had an opportunity to acquire a store on Madison Avenue that was doing the same thing we were. They were a small boutique. They were selling lingerie, and the owner wanted out, and we were introduced by a vendor. And so we negotiated the deal, and we bought the company. And shortly after that, we hired a PR person in New York, because this was just a neighborhood store in Carnegie Hill, part of Manhattan. And our goal was to make it we wanted to appeal to the entire Upper East Side and maybe all of Manhattan. So we hired a PR person who ended up getting great interviews with a lot of the magazines, in New York, most of which were actually national, and one was Oprah Magazine.
Oh, okay.
So Susan, tell them how that whole Oprah Magazine, they were going to do an article. This is my April of 2005, and it was going to come out in the summer. I think they were going to call it the Bra Bible, and Susan was going to be a feature portion of it. So
yeah,
what happened then?
So what, most magazines had always talked about, the best bra in the world or whatever. And through this journey, we convinced the Oprah people that it was really not about the best bra, but about the right fit.
Interesting.
And that was a story that hadn't been told. So that was kind of interesting to them. And they did start out with the idea that it would be called the Bra Bible, but later on they called it the Bra Revolution, because they just couldn't believe how significant it was. But we actually did photo shoots with women, average everyday women. We didn't hire models or anything like that. And we showed the editorial staff, what the before and after differences were, and they were pretty spellbound by it. And after we left doing the photo shoot for them, which was quite fun and exciting, we had 6 women that we had done before and after images with, and we had an editor there who was writing the story as we went along. We got a call from the Oprah people the following Monday that they wanted us to come on for a Mommy Day makeover for Mother's Day in 2005. So that was quite an opportunity. And the same thing happened really when we went to Chicago for the show, that the editors and the stylists and the photographers and the producers kept looking at the makeovers that we were doing, and they said, my God, you're changing women's lives. Like, women literally look like they're 10 pounds thinner, and they look more proportionate and shapely, and the women were just thrilled to death. And so when Oprah got word of this, she really was, she was pretty blown away by it. And so we actually got an opportunity to fit her, which was pretty fun. And within a month, the show actually aired, live, sure. and Oprah invited me to come on upstairs and fit her for bras, because she just wanted to see, how good she could look. And she called me about a few weeks later to say, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And, I've been shopping, I've been buying bras for years. How could I have not known this? And, the thing is, the truth of the matter is that most women blame their bodies for the fit problems they had. They didn't realize it was all about getting the right fit. And most people associate comfort with looseness. And so when, they buy something that's loose, it shifts on their body and all of a sudden they fall down. So, it's like trying to lift people up and make them feel confident again. Getting the right fit is imperative. So that was kind of the roots and the basis of our marketing.
Yeah, but I think Oprah really saw that. She had declared before that show that she had her favorite bra. Okay. And I think what she realized is that it's not about the favorite bra or the right bra. It's about the correct fit. And beyond that, with the correct fit came this emotional experience for the women who were being fit, and that they felt better, they felt more confident, they looked better, they could look like they lost 10 pounds. And Oprah completely got behind that and recognized that this was really a story that had never been told. Sure. At least not since, you go back generations when that's all there was the small bra fit boutiques around town. And so Susan was invited back 4 more times for a total of 5 appearances on Oprah.
That's amazing.
Over a 3 or 4 year period. Yeah, it was amazing. And so, what became really a core competency of intimacy was the ability to really, we called telling the story. We had 5 pillars when we ran the company, and one of the important ones was telling the story, which I like the way we framed that because that's really what it was. The story was about how a woman can have a life-changing experience by coming into one of our stores. And traditionally people call that marketing, advertising, PR, but it's all that rolled together.
Sure.
So every time we'd go open a new market, we would hire a publicist who would introduce us to all the contacts she had, and we'd provide all the content, and it would be Susan doing radio interviews, television interviews, magazine interviews. And so we were able to roll out stores with a really great launch across the country. And that was the key to our, the success of our business.
Sure. No, I love that. I think that's kind of fascinating to me. And I love kind of how you guys used stuff that you kind of learned in the corporate world into your own business. And then you guys kind of created these whole campaigns around like good content and almost like teaching people something and like teaching people why your product and fit was so much better than, kind of traditionally what was out there, right? And I think when people can relate to that and you can make them feel better about themselves, like there's nothing better than that, right?
Right, yeah, that's a real win for everybody.
And what's really unique too is that we kind of dovetailed with our storytelling is really a lot like what we see today in social media with a lot of storytelling going on, right?
Sure.
So, but that wasn't, of course, feasible at that time, although we did have a website that was 100% dedicated to just teaching women, answering women's questions and teaching them about fit. It wasn't e-commerce related at the time. It was really education and awareness based. But I think that one of the most important things in that journey was the fact that we did have this corporate experience, as you mentioned. And had we not had that, I think we would have been maybe like other retailers. We would have not embraced this as a much larger opportunity. I never thought we would open a single store. I really was always looking at scaling something. But we were trying to do it in an efficient way. And capital was not really that available for women. So that kind of ties in a little bit to why we're so passionate today after having sold our business about helping to fund other women entrepreneurs, because women have gotten the short end of the stick and they haven't always gotten the capital that men have gotten, especially even as entrepreneurship has grown substantially in the last 5 to 10 years. It was not that popular actually when I started our business, but now, it's all the rage. So today we can channel a lot of our energy to help future women business owners to have success and to get the capital to do things a lot faster than maybe it took us,
Sure. No, and I do want to cover kind of your guys' involvement in investing in a bit, but I'm curious to know kind of how did you grow, kind of to this nationwide chain, and like walk me through that process, and then what made you ultimately decide to kind of sell the business?
Well, the two were dovetailed. After Susan appeared on the first time on Oprah, we had we were on people's radar screen,
Sure.
including some private equity people, venture capitalists, and we had no interest in bringing in a partner. But in the end, one private equity firm, put forward a pretty compelling argument that they could really help us grow and provide capital for that growth. And on the other hand, we had mapped out our own models showing that we might be able to do this without any outside capital. We might be able to cash flow enough from our existing operations to do this on our own. And at that point, we had just 3 stores: the Atlanta, New York, and at that time one in Chicago, which we did because Oprah wanted to do a big show there. And so anyway, we gave this a lot of serious review, and we brought in some close advisors to give us some counsel. And one of them was the guy who was the CEO of our largest supplier, a Belgian company, and some of your listeners might know the brands Mary Jo and Prima Donna. The company's name Vanderbilt.
Okay.
And so he himself, his name is Ignace, and he is a Wharton grad. He ran the Boston Consulting Group for BCG, and just a really bright guy and someone who we've become close to. And he proposed that they would like to make an investment in Intimacy because they only made bras, and they didn't sell bras and panties to department stores, and they only sold them to independent boutiques, and they wanted to have a stronger position in that sector of their value chain. And so it made great strategic sense for them to actually invest in a company that that was growing like we were, and we were probably the fastest growing, or we had projections for substantial growth, and the 3 stores we had were doing tremendous volume, and so it all made great sense for them, and it made great sense to us too. And at the time, none of our children had any interest in the business, so this is one of those big moments in your life where you got to decide: do you want to do this on your own, or do you want to bring in somebody that's going to? And the way the deal was structured is that it was going to be contractual. We would be contractually obligated to sell the business after a certain period of time, and that we would take in a minority share from them in the beginning and then sell the majority later on. So that means we're going to exit the business. That's the big question on the table. Do we want to do that or not? And as it was, or as it turned out, we decided to do that just because we felt so strongly in the partnership. We thought it was so synergistic and that they brought so much to the table, but they also brought capital to the table. And so we grew the company with a combination of capital that they brought and capital that we had. And, of course, their interest was seeing, do we have a large number of stores? Because they were a big corporation. They were a publicly traded company in Belgium. And so they wanted to have a presence that was a national footprint and that was substantial. So, we were up to the task, and we were doing 2, 3, 4 stores a year. We did that for 4 or 5 years. In the end, we had 18 stores. And after 5 years of operating in this sort of partnership with them, we sold remaining shares to them, and then they took over, and that was 2012.
Got you. But you guys are both still involved in it, right?
No,
totally
so
done.
what happened was, so 2012 was our 5-year time frame of running the business. So we agreed to step down from the day-to-day operations.
Okay.
And we, of course, still retained our board role.
Oh, okay. That's how you're involved.
And we retained our board role until 2015.
Gotcha.
So we just stepped out.
For the last year, we've had no involvement.
Yeah.
Which was part of the overall plan that was put together back in 2006 and 2007.
In some ways, you might say, gosh, how could you leave the baby that you left behind, and all this sort of thing. But we had a lot of reward and a lot of pleasure, and it was a great fun journey to grow the company. We would have stayed on, and we probably would still enjoy a lot of elements of it today. The world has changed a bit, though. E-commerce has become more important. It's been a challenge. There have been more challenges. Certainly 2008, 9, 10 were tough.
Yeah.
Retail, I think, is being challenged. I do feel, though, today that the service that we were providing and the guidance that we gave customers and so forth, still really valuable and really meaningful. And I think, retailers today have to really have a differentiated proposition for the customer in order to attract her to come in the store. But clearly people walked out of our store and, told their friends, their neighbors, brought in their family members, it was a generational kind of word of mouth business that evolved. And that was quite rewarding and quite fun. And the other big thing that David and I were really committed to is if we sold the company, we wanted to make sure that the employees had an opportunity to really grow with the company. And we did share a lot of values with the new company. In fact, before we formed our final partnership, they had made an offer to us. We went for a Christmas holiday after Christmas, actually, and took our younger daughter, and we went to meet the family members so that we would understand the culture of the new company and see if it dovetailed with ours. And, we walked away with a warm feeling about, these are the kind of people that we can do business with, that we can share and respect and value the same sorts of things. And today their mission is still quite similar. They're still very, very committed to really making the customer experience extraordinary.
They rebranded the company. They rebranded it in order to have international trademark rights to the name Rigby and Peller. Oh, okay. So the stores are still operating. In fact, they've got, I don't know how many, I'm not involved anymore, but I think close to 100 stores around the globe.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, under the Rigby and Peller brand name. So, and I think this experience is still the same rich, great, experience for women who come into Rigby and Peller stores as it was when it was an intimacy store.
Sure. I think that's got to be just rewarding in itself, right? That you guys created something from nothing and now it's kind of this global thing, right? Even though it got renamed, you guys still created that from nothing.
Yeah, it is something special. Thanks for saying that. I agree. It does make us feel special.
We feel great about it. And then it was a great example for our daughters, as it turned out. Our oldest daughter we did ask her to come back and help us during the last 5 years. And she became so passionate about entrepreneurship that she started her own business now, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And so she's in year 3 at about $1 million run rate. So that's not bad.
She has
that's really good.
Meal kit business. Yeah, it's called Garnish and Gather, and it's the Atlanta version of Blue Apron, if you will. Everything they source is from local farms around Greater Atlanta and this part of Georgia.
That's great.
It's really fun business. She started it at the beginning of that whole idea of creating meal kits where people can get a recipe and all the ingredients, and all they need to do is have fun cooking in the kitchen and feel the sense of reward from being able to sit down and eat a healthy meal with their family. And then our youngest daughter is involved in social entrepreneurship, and she's a real go-getter and started her own NGO, and she's really committed to that. So we feel it was not only is it when parents are committed to what they're doing, but when they're passionate about it and they're really having fun and making it a part of their overall lives. I think it's a good example for the kids. And a lot of talk today about how millennials don't want to work for money anymore. They want to work for satisfaction and experiences. And I think everybody would agree that was involved especially working during those years with us, that we had quite a powerful team working together, and it was a whole lot of fun.
Sure. No, that's great. And you're right. I think it's really cool that you guys kind of obviously inspired your own children, but I think, you guys have inspired other people, through a bunch of things you're doing. And I think it's kind of a good segue into the book, Mental Mastery of Chemotherapy. Do you guys want to kind of talk about the book and kind of why you decided to write it?
Well, another big moment in my life was in December of 2012 when I was informed that I have colon cancer. It was stage 3B, pretty far along, and that's a shocker.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine.
The cure rate's high, but it's not 100%. And so anyway, within a few days after digesting the fact that I have a disease that could be fatal, not likely to be, but could be, I was then told I'm going to go through 6 months of chemotherapy. And I sat down with a oncology nurse who read me a list of, I don't know, it's probably 100 things that could go wrong with you as a result of the chemotherapy. You might react negatively in this way or that way. You could have numbness. You could have a sensitivity to cold. And it was overwhelming. I was really, I may or may not die from the cancer. The prognosis is I probably won't, but definitely I was going to start the chemo, and it was only 2 days away.
Oh, wow.
So I got to really deal with this, in a constructive manner, or I'm going to, it's going to be really a problem for me. So I worked with Susan and I both worked with a renowned psychologist named Dr. George Pratt, and we worked with him in our business to help create really positive mental visions and images of where we want the business to go. And he helped me quit smoking as well, and some other constructive things that, for me personally, I decided to apply everything that I had learned from him to the chemotherapy. And I began doing meditation on a daily basis, and I began using the meditation to solidify in my mind a positive mental image of perfect health and perfect fitness. And so I began keeping a journal of what I was doing, but I was religious in doing this meditation every day. It was like my own script, my own self, meditation script. And I kept a log, which was useful to show my doctor. I tracked how many miles I walked or ran or whatever I was able to do during that particular period. And so in the end, Susan says, you've got all this. You should put this together in a book and see it and help other people. So I did. I wrote a book. It's a workbook, really. It's designed to be read in a single session of chemo, which for me was the better part of a half day, but it's about an hour read maybe. Okay. And it's a workbook where every other page you can write your own story about your own experience. But I really hope it's helpful for other people. It was what the things I did I thought were really constructive for me. And the book's called The Mental Mastery of Chemotherapy. And you can buy it anywhere on Amazon, online. But you can also go to my website, which is yourmentalmastery.com. And there you can not only buy the book, but you can see some interviews I've done for American Cancer Society about methods I use and techniques, the things that I did on how to find the best doctor or how to communicate better with your doctor. So if any listeners are experiencing chemotherapy or know anybody that is, I suggest that you at least direct them to the website where all that information is free, including a video on YouTube of the actual meditation that I did for 6 months every morning. And again, it's all about using meditation to really ground in your subconscious mind images of whatever you want in life.
Sure. That's amazing. And I'm glad that you turned something negative into like a positive, right? And just, you guys have seemed to kind of give back your entire career, right? And I think that's amazing, right? And not a lot of people can actually say truthfully that they've done that.
Yeah, my oncologist who wrote the foreword to the book said that, that I really wanted to make a legacy out of this chemotherapy experience. And I did. I mean, in the end, I felt really fulfilled in being able to write down and publish my experiences with the hope that if it helps one person, it'll be a bestseller in my mind.
Totally.
I love that.
It's awesome. And I love the fact that, like, you guys are just kind of giving back, and you're still giving back. And you guys are both involved with Golden Seeds and kind of investing. So do you kind of want to walk me through what you guys are kind of doing on the investment side? And you guys have also, both of you sit on a bunch of boards. Do you guys want to mention what you guys are doing to actually, again, give back, financially and being on different boards?
Sure. So probably the most significant thing we are doing is Golden Seeds, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Sure.
But we also are pretty active with other nonprofit boards. So I sit on the national board for the Southeastern board for UNICEF, which
amazing.
is a great, amazing organization, the most established, oldest humanitarian organization, and very efficient in its work. And it's been very exciting. This past year, we took a trip to Vietnam, and we're able to see the work that's going on there to help them be more sustainable in creating better schools, education, and opportunities for all the children at UNICEF, dedicated to children's health, welfare, education, and safety. So that's one really exciting role, and David's played an important part in attending with me some of our advocacy meetings in Washington, where we have the opportunity to talk with legislators about the work that UNICEF is doing. So that's great. And we do it again as a pair, as a partnership. The other thing I've been pretty involved in is a women's organization called Committee of 200, which is top women executives and entrepreneurs and founders of businesses who are, running multi-million-dollar companies. And we do a lot of work mentoring young women in business school, young women in their careers, and then serving women who are established entrepreneurs, helping them to achieve the next rung of success, both financially as well as from a reward standpoint. So I sit on the national board for that, as well as the Southeastern Regional Chair for engagement of our members. We have about 500 members across the country.
Wow.
So those are really fun. But I think the one that, again, David and I do as a partnership, which is really great, is our investing in women entrepreneurs, which I think I mentioned a little bit earlier. David and I both experienced how challenging it is to raise capital in the early stages with a young business. And certainly, today things have changed a lot, and angel investment has been a really great way to fund young entrepreneurs that are at those kind of, I wouldn't call it unproven stages, but clearly the businesses are finding their way, finding the most successful methods of distribution and the best product, and really honing their business in every element and aspect. So David and I play an active role in investing at Golden Seeds, which is dedicated solely to women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, this really resonated with us when we were introduced to Golden Seeds, and we were introduced to them the year we sold our company or stepped down from operations in 2012, and that Golden Seeds only invest in women who are women founders or women CEOs, startup companies. And so it's early stage investing. It's called angel investing also. And as you might know, women have been underrepresented in terms of receipt of capital, that most of the startup capital goes to men.
Sure.
And so Golden Seeds is, wants to move the needle in any way they can, and they have over the years. They've gone.
Yeah, I think they've gone from around 7 or 8% of the capital, getting only 7 or 8% of the capital, to now around 30%.
Wow.
28 to 30%. And venture capital is still pretty bad. I mean, women are not getting venture capital funds. And so, there's still a great need for change there. But Golden Seeds has been the real shining star organization with several hundred investors across the country in New York, in Boston, Silicon Valley, Southern California, Dallas, and then there are those of us who are kind of scattered throughout, and we attend meetings on a monthly basis and participate in all of the major events that they do at Golden Seeds to try to get more women entrepreneurs from the Southeast, as well as to invest in other national concepts that we see in New York.
I think what we've learned through this experience is that if women are going to receive more money, we need more women investing the money.
Interesting.
And Golden Seeds has about 275 members, and I think about 85% are women. So I'm a minority there, and that's what it takes, though. That's what it takes. It takes a majority of women with capital investing in women who need capital.
Sure.
And that's what Golden Seeds does, and I think that's really making an impact.
And I also, Golden Seeds has also learned that women of high net wealth or whatever are not likely to want to take on the risk associated with entrepreneurship that people who have been entrepreneurs have assumed. So, David and I, having been operator entrepreneurs, we understand what it's like to live with risk every day, and how to mitigate that, and what you can do to make a more successful organization. But it seems to be women who have been entrepreneurs are more willing to invest in other women entrepreneurs. And Golden Seeds crosses all industries. So we're doing things in life sciences, business to business, technology, fashion, consumer products. So, and the way we make show a level of commitment is we invest with our pocketbooks. We invest with our money. And I don't think there's any greater confidence that you can give somebody than to say to them, I'm willing to invest in your business and in your ideas and what you're attempting to do. So I think the people who come to Golden Seeds and who get through the various stages, are really diligent, thoughtful, smart women who have every bit the opportunity to create a scalable business that, any man would. In fact, I think there's been evidence to show that women can create more profitable organizations that have better culture than even men. But we're excited to be able to participate. And we were looking the other day, but we've got 15 concepts or something like that we've invested in now, David?
Yeah, I think it's about that.
About 5 a year, something like that we've done.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who aspires to be an angel investor, my counsel is you got to have a portfolio of probably 20 companies in order to represent enough diversity, because this is the high risk, sector, right? Startups not many startups succeed is the harsh reality.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. So we're kind of coming to the end of the show. So I'm curious to know, you guys have had tons of success in kind of the corporate world, your own businesses, mentoring other people. And I'm curious to know each one of your guys' thoughts on this is, if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be? And I'm curious to see what each one of you would say to that.
Well, actually, I'm happy that you phrased the question that way, because I've also, with the work I've done with George Pratt, gone through little, coaching sessions where he instructs you to go back and talk to your younger self and try and, give your younger self advice.
Sure.
And the advice that I would give myself is to be confident in my ability to pursue what I want in life. And when I frame it for younger people, I say, to tell yourself it's okay, not to get stressed out over every little thing that comes up, but to know that it's going to be okay because you're doing the right things, you're working hard, you've got the right intentions, it'll be okay. That's my advice.
Interesting. Susan?
Well, and I would say as a woman, like a lot of times, I think we believe that if you put your head down and do the right thing, that everybody will notice. And certainly in the corporate world, that's not the case. And as an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to be your own best advocate and build win-win-win relationships. Relationships where not only are you helping others in what they're trying to accomplish, that's serving your needs, but also creating a better universe, a better world out there. And I think when you have that kind of focus and you're your own best advocate and advocate for the others that you serve in your life, then only goodness can come to you. And I'm a big believer in gratitude. So the other thing I would say is to recognize how important gratitude is in planting seeds for the future. And I truly believe that, that's been a big part of the reason David and I have had such a journey of joy and success and opportunity.
Sure. That's great. But sadly, guys, we're coming to the end of the show. So maybe let's close the show with mentioning where people can get more information about yourselves, Golden Seeds, and if you want to mention, again, your children's startups, and people can go online and get more information about those as well.
Sure. So my daughter's business is called Garnish and Gather, and garnishandgather.com. And so that's a really wonderful website to talk all about, how food is important in your lives. Our other daughter has joined a company which is called Women Strong, and this company is providing help to teenage girls and women to help get them on their feet in urban markets around the world. So they work with 5 different NGOs. And Women Strong is a terrific website to go to because they tell stories from Ghana, India, Kenya, Washington, D.C., and Haiti. So that's pretty impressive. And Golden Seeds is a great website to go to. It's goldenseeds.com. And there's a whole section for people interested to be investors or interested in entrepreneurship and what the process is all about. And Golden Seeds is active with Angel Capital Association of America, which is also another wonderful nonprofit organization dedicated towards advancing angel capital to help fuel entrepreneurship in our country, which I think could help with a lot of our economic problems. All the growth in this country is coming from business startups. So those are a few resources. David?
And the book is yourmentalmastery.com.
Perfect. Well, David, Susan, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you. And, if either one or both of your daughters wants to be on the show, I would love to, have them on the show and talk kind of deeper dive into what they're working on. So, that being said, again, really appreciate you guys being on the show, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks so much.
Kevin.
All right.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye now.
Bye. Thanks for listening. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check them out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.